Origi! Yeah! Unbelievable!
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast following a shocking 3-0 home defeat against Atalanta that leaves the Reds Europa League hopes in tatters. It was an error-strewn night at both ends of the field, duly punished by the Italian side who might have had an even greater advantage to take into next week's second leg. Liverpool were disjointed, lackadaisical and quite frankly looked like they were ready for the long goodbye to be done with already. I'm Chris Smith, and during the short straw for this one, our TLW editor Dave Usher and poor John Brennan, who endured that with a chronic ear infection. And we imagine you'll probably all have earache after listening to this. Dave, that was probably the last European night at Anfield under Jurgen Klopp. What the fuck, man?
I know. I don't even know what the main emotion is there. Shocked definitely comes into it. Shocked, stunned. Angry to some extent, but I think the anger comes from just what you've just said there. This is going to be Klopp's last European game at Anfield. That's how you're going to fucking go out. A performance like that. The shocking aspect of it was really that I thought everybody was shit. Just varying degrees of shit. And it's who's the least shit? Probably Cody. He wasn't good, but at least he looked like he was. He looked like he was up for it. He was trying to do things. Some of them were just so disinterested. Even Virgil, so fucking casual. Joe Gomez had a stinker. Maka's been in amazing form lately. What was that? What was that from Maka tonight? What's going on? That's the worrying thing. There is how have they all just completely fallen off a cliff at the same time? In the same game, everybody is shit. How does that happen? It's mad. Is it because the United game at the weekend? Is that taking the wind out the sails? Which I don't think it's that. It's because if it's that, then they're not the group of players that I thought they were. Because we normally bounce back from bad results. So saving up a performance like that, coming off the back of, we're relinquishing our grip on the title race, if you like. It was in our hands, then it's not. And this is how we respond with a performance like this. The whole thing just feels weird because, the atmosphere was dreadful, which, thank FSG for that, with the fucking ticket prices going up and, pissing the fans off, ahead of a big European night. And I'm 100% behind the fans deciding to do a protest and that, because you can't pick and choose what game you do. We're in a title race, so we're going to do it for league games? No, this was the first game after what's happened. You can't. They're probably banking on the fact that we wouldn't do anything because there's so much to go for. It's probably there's not going to be any protests because you don't want to undermine the trophy on.
Should we come on to this a little bit later?
But I just think that's relevant. It's relevant to the game because I think it's relevant to the atmosphere. That's it. A European quarter-final, and there was no atmosphere. The crowd was completely flat, which, partly to do with the way the team played. But we've seen that so many times where we've had a bad first half, and then the crowd gets up for it, attacking the Kop. We just get a little bit of momentum going, and just like that, you turn the game around. At no point tonight did that ever feel like that was going to happen. The second half, we had a couple of moments, but I was never sitting there going, you know what, this is a matter of time here, we're getting back into it. It just never felt like one of those games. You could tell something was just off with everyone, and like I say, I'm completely behind the decision for the fans to not have the flags and everything else, but it there's no doubt that it impacts the atmosphere and just the general mindset of people going into the ground and that. We kind of went in on a downer because of the United game, but usually that brings out the best in the fans and the team. But the fans also have this other stuff going on as well, and it just feels like at the worst possible moment, the wheels have just fallen off.
John, first of all, how are you feeling? Hopefully you're on the mend. Secondly, what's your overriding emotion coming out of that? Because there's a couple of ways you can look at it. You can be angry about some of the stuff that Dave has mentioned there, but I'm kind of between anger and just sadness at the moment, I think, because it does feel quite indicative, perhaps telling tonight's game that it might not be this sort of glorious end to this era that we were maybe hoping for and anticipating, and there's a number of potential reasons behind that, but this certainly doesn't suggest that we're going to be sort of celebrating Klopp's departure in 6 weeks' time, and it might just be a limp to the end at this point. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, like an earache or ear infection is painful, but nowhere near as painful as watching that tonight. It was so bad. And you mentioned before, Chris, just in the chat we had before coming on, about this idea of the long goodbye, and it really feels like that now. I mean, I find it difficult to get angry about stuff related to football anyway nowadays, and especially it's really difficult to get angry with this manager and this team. Well, because of all they've given us over the years, and obviously the teams have changed, the players have changed over the years, but you still have lads who've been there, like Andy, Trent, Virgil, Alisson, for the last 5-6 years, and have given us so much. So I think the kind of overriding emotion is sadness, and it's sadness based on the last few weeks, where we just don't seem to be really at it. It goes back to, I think, even though we've won games since the cup defeat against United, that just was a real blow to everybody. And I think there's sadness as well, because of what we've gone through in the past. We've gone to the last day twice, where we had a chance of winning the league, and it's just I mean, you can only deal with so much, and the anticipation of what could be down the line is kind of what's so hard to take. I mean, I've been kind of consistent on this all season. I thought we'd win the league. I thought it was kind of a fairy tale end, and that was going to happen. And honestly, Dave mentioned in his opening comments there about the United game taking the wind out of our sails, and I've really felt like this since Sunday, and I've looked forward to the Europa League all season, because I think it's been a great competition for us. It's allowed us to rotate. It's allowed us to do well in the league. It's allowed us to bring in new players. But I was even coming into the game tonight just not really looking forward to it as much as I have been, because of being so deflated from the weekend. So there's no real anger there, even though at various points tonight I was obviously fuming with some of the decisions we made, some of the lack of intensity. I think it's just sadness, and which is sadness because of the Klopp era coming to an end, and probably as things stand, it looks like it's going to fizzle out, even though that could obviously change over the next few weeks. It depends what happens in league games and everything. But yeah, tonight the overriding emotion is just sadness and a kind of bit of despair, I guess, based on the performance and what's down the line in the next few weeks.
Dave, we talked about this a little bit in preparation for the podcast tonight, and usually after the game you make your way back from your dad's where you've been watching the game, and I'll set up, I'll write the intro, and by the time I've done that, we're just about ready to go. But you had an errand to run tonight, so we're recording a little bit later, and I just decided I'd go out and walk the dog, and I was thinking about this pardon me, while I was doing that, and I wondered whether I should say it or not, because it's a bit reactionary and it's a bit sort of could be perceived as quite insulting. But I think there's a malaise at the moment within the team, and I do think it comes from the manager having made this decision that he's going to leave. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that he has one foot out the door already, but I do think that there's been a sort of, how did I put it? Let me just revisit what we said. So I did say checked out, and then you pushed back on that. But I think it was telling on Sunday when Klopp said that he was fine with that result at Old Trafford. He's been sort of happy-go-lucky and jovial and calm, and nothing seems to be sort of bothering him that much anymore. And I think it comes down from the sort of relief that he's made this announcement that he's going to be leaving us. And I think there's been a noticeable sort of drop-off in the intensity and the mentality of the players since then. And you can point to several results. You can point to tonight. You can point to the 2 games against Manchester United. You can point to the Sheffield United game. Those are just the ones in the last month, where we have been looking at the team and looking at their concentration and looking at their focus and some of the errors that they've been making. And I think that's what we're dealing with right now. Is that something that you think is a possibility, or am I just sort of being really reactionary with that?
I can't say like that. There's nothing to it. You know, there may well be something to it, and it is kind of an easy leap to make, because he says he's going and everyone's like, okay, that's going to inspire everyone, it's going to get everyone fired up. And yeah, for a while it looked like it did. But in terms of Klopp himself, I think he does come across as like a little bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like laid back,
yeah.
I don't know, not quite laid back, a bit more chilled maybe. I don't know, he's not, like, watching him on the touchline tonight, and he just stood there like open-mouthed. I didn't see him, you know, losing his shit about what he was seeing, and I felt like he did that against United. He was getting angry there. In terms of what he said after United, I just took that as he's got to say that, you know, you don't want to put like a big negative slant on it. It's 2 points lost and all that. And managers generally will say it's a point gained, especially if it's away from home. They don't like to put added pressure on the team. I don't think for a second he believes that, because he knows even better than we do how shit that Man United team is. You know, he watches the tapes. He knows how you get at them, and he's seen his team do everything that they were supposed to do, except when they get enough. He's done everything he can to set that team up to play the way they did against United and tear them apart. And that's what happened, but he can't put the ball in the net for them, or play the final pass, or make them make the right decision. And I think that was where the frustration was with him at the weekend, and I don't think he thought that was a good point. I think he's just said what he feels like he needs to say to keep the morale up and everything else. But in terms of like the bigger picture, it does feel like that he's a bit more relaxed about things, and maybe not as intense. And I don't know. I mean, we could just be projecting that based on the fact we know he's leaving. I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to say. And if the players are like playing the way they are because of that, that's not Klopp's fault. That's down to the players. They need to be stronger than that. You know, they should be fighting tooth and nail to give him the send-off he deserves, and not putting in abject performances like that tonight. Because for everybody to play so badly tonight, I'm staggered. Usually, like, when you have bad performances, you can still pick out 3 or 4 players and say, well, you know, they were pretty good, but, you know, for whatever reason, it's not gone well. We've made mistakes, or, you know, the whole thing tonight just looked off in every department. Mm-hmm. Klopp said, didn't he? I was skimming through Twitter before. I've not seen his press conference yet, but I've just seen like little snippets, and something he said was it just looked like we lost the plot. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it looked like. You know, there was gaps everywhere. Players were like running into areas they shouldn't have been, and then, you know, someone would play a bad pass, and then all of a sudden we're completely stranded. It's like 3v2. I mean, that Scamacca is dog shit. I watched him at West Ham last year. He was so bad, and he looked great tonight. We made him look great, and it's, you know, they're not a good team. I said on the last pod that they were second in the league. That was like, John G gave me bad information there. Now, I never fact check John, because John's always spot on, so I don't need to fact check. But like he's giving me like dud information saying that they were second. They're not second. I think they're 6th or something, and they're not good. They're not a good team. And
yeah, they've barely won in the last few weeks.
You look at that tonight, and credit to them. You know, they've played well, but that doesn't make them a good team. You know, that tonight was all about us. It was all about how horrendous we were, and they've took advantage of that. They've played well. They fully deserve the result that they've come away with. I'm not taking anything away from them at all, but let's not kid ourselves that like we just ran into like a good team that was on form. No, that was all about how we played tonight.
Yes, it's all on us.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I could just single out so many players. Well, Endo, I mean, that Endo's performance tonight was absolutely horrendous. I don't know what was going on. Now, I didn't think he was great at Old Trafford either, but he'd come back from an injury and I thought, all right, yeah, he's maybe not quite at it because whatever the knock that he had. But that tonight, he was so bad. And, you know, that was like his first couple of games in the Europa League when he was late to everything and, you know, he was a little bit sloppy on the ball. Like, he always seemed to be having to stretch for it, except it was way worse. And I don't know how you'd explain that. Like, as I say, everybody just being so bad. It's like, what causes the whole team to play like that? And like Klopp saying about losing the plot and making bad decisions and all of that stuff. But maybe like if you've got like a few kids in the team, then you'd expect that. But we've got worse since we fucked the kids off. You know, now that like Dan's and Bobby Clark and McConnell are not getting any minutes, we've not been better as a result of it, have we? We've actually gotten worse since we bombed the kids out.
And do you really think some of the lackadaisical stuff that we've seen tonight, the errors, they're giving the ball away, they're being exposed in dangerous positions seemingly constantly tonight, is really going to improve if we bomb Conor Bradley out and bring fucking Trent Alexander-Arnold back in strutting around the place like he fucking owns it?
Yeah, but we may well get other things like that go in our favour from it, you know, things that he brings to the table. So, I mean, I wouldn't be bringing Trent into this. He didn't even play tonight. He had no part in it.
That's fair enough.
So, you know, it's
if
he'd played and he'd been like that, then fair enough. But, yeah, I mean, Gomez tonight, he was absolutely brutal. And he's been great all season. But looking at that tonight, what's going on?
Dave, you said before, you used the term falling off a cliff. And I mean, this is something we said all of last season with Virgil, Fabinho, Henderson, and the fall off was massive last season, and we've been so much better this season. But tonight, literally every player who started, and even those who came on, well, maybe apart from
Robbo was
Gakpo
fine, I thought, to be fair. I thought when Robbo came on, he was fine.
I just thought,
but it's not physical though, John. Like, you know, you're talking about falling off a cliff. I don't think we fell off a cliff physically. It was that actual.
No, it's just a
ability,
decision.
You know, just like mistakes and decisions, and that, as you say.
Everything. It was the press wasn't there. Our decision making was terrible. Our the use of the ball was really bad. We didn't create much. I mean, as much as Sunday was disappointing, at least we created loads, whereas tonight we just didn't look in any way threatening
that's true,
at
but
any point.
The chances we did create, we just made a right fucking mess of them all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's a worrying thing. And as much as you can speak about chances missed, which was the main talking point, I think, that came from Sunday. In the two games we've played at Old Trafford this season, we've scored 5 goals, which should be enough to win. So you need to start looking at our defensive record. I think it's 8 games since we kept a clean sheet as well. So there's problems at both ends.
Yeah.
But tonight was just so bad. And I mean, I know it's the lesser European competition, but it's still the quarterfinals, and you're going to get punished even by poor enough teams if you have 11 or maybe 10 players who are putting in. I'd say the majority of our players tonight put in 5 or 6 out of 10 performances.
I don't think the majority got 6.
Yeah, so you're probably looking at 5.
You're talking 1 or 2 get 6, and everyone else is way below.
Is maybe 4 or 5, and yeah, we deserved everything we got tonight. You just can't afford to play like that. And I mean, I've seen some people saying it's on Twitter, and that Phil was saying, Longo was saying on Twitter, and Gav as well, that it's arrogance. I'm not sure if it's arrogance. you know, we always come back to Milner's no dickheads policy, and they're not an arrogant bunch. So
it did look like that tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is either, but it did look
Yeah.
like that played a part. I don't think it did. I don't know what it is, but I can see why people would say that was an arrogant performance. Complacent more than anything.
Yeah, probably complacent. Yeah,
Complacent's probably the right word.
Chris, sorry, Chris. Do you think yourself that you mentioned complacency there, that comes from the manager as well, by dropping Mo, dropping Dom, playing Costas? Is he saying we have enough to beat them? Is that a complacent attitude as well in a competition that you're basically 5 games away from another European trophy and not going with your strongest team?
Perhaps. I wouldn't put it high on my list of reasons for that, for sure. Like, I don't think so, because it's what we've done in this competition all season. You know, it's. I don't think it's necessarily we can expect to drop off that big. You know, there are reasons for not playing Mo. He's been poor in the last few games. He's not eaten any food during the day. So, you know, that contributes to it. Szoboszlai isn't pulling up any trees by any stretch of the imagination either. And he was abysmal when he came on tonight. Abysmal. Like, if you look at him now compared to what he was at the start of the season, when we were all like, we got the next Steven Gerrard here.
Yeah.
Like, the drop-off has been astounding. It feels like we were sold a bill of goods at this stage.
Steven Gerrard right now would probably be outperforming him.
Steady.
You know, we've all been looking...
Oh, you've seen him in the Legends game. I mean, I don't think it's that outrageous.
We've all been wanting Curtis Jones back in the team as well. Fair enough, Curtis maybe has a bit of an excuse, bit of rust, but
he's rusty.
The ponderous nature of his performance on the ball, so he caught on the ball so many times, didn't really offer us anything. I thought Harvey was on the better side of, you know, we talked about those 5 out of 6 ratings. He'd probably be the one who was at a 6, maybe a 7. Like, he found himself taken off at half time. I thought quite unfairly.
Strange,
Don't know why. Probably our most impactful player of that first half had the best chance. The only one who had an effort at goal that actually looked like it was, you know, it had some fucking intention behind it. Nunez has completely sort of gone back to this couldn't hit a fucking cow's ass with a banjo type situation where he's fluffing every chance that comes his way, and just looks confused out there. Who else played up front? Gakpo did okay, but you look at, you've got our first choice centre half pairing out there. We love Joe Gomez, the role he's played in the team lately.
We can't call him a backup anymore, can we? He's played most of the season, so it's not like he's a backup. Even Costas, we've been saying, why is Costas not got any minutes lately? So when he does play, you can't then say, well, what do we play him? He was so bad, by the way.
He was.
But can you legislate for that? You know, you don't expect him to play like that, do you? So I just, as I say, it's like everyone's so bad. You know, we can pick them all out and say, what about him? What about him? Yeah, and I think Virgil's played them on side for every single chance they've had tonight.
Canati was terrible.
Definitely a sauntering aspect for Van Dijk's performance tonight. Like, on the first goal, for instance, I was watching it back at half time, and the whole sort of minute building up to it isn't great, really. We lack conviction in the pressing. There's a few half-assed efforts to win the ball, and then it sort of breaks to them on their right-hand side, and Costas kind of trots up to the lad with the ball and then makes a little sprint to try and press him. Too late, ball's gone around him. The lad's off down the right wing. Virgil does that thing where he just runs backwards in a straight line, so he's putting no pressure on the ball, and neither is he blocking the incoming cross.
And he's played them on.
Yeah, he's played them on. The runner has been untracked, whether it was sort of McAllister or Endo was supposed to be picking up. He's untracked. He comes through and he's clear as day in the penalty area, and it's just embarrassing from the goalkeeper really as well, who sort of redeemed himself with a couple of good saves later on in the half. But I mean, like, you can't be giving away goals like that. It was just so bad from every single perspective you want to look at it from. Yeah,
it was. And that's why I said at the start, some players, he just seemed to be too calm, just too, thinking it was too easy. others who were putting in a shift, Gakpo and even Darwin, you know, I didn't think there was anything wrong with his effort, just lacked the quality, you know, and so that's the problem. Is like you've got some players who are putting in the effort, but they just not producing the quality, and then you've got everybody else, and none of them are producing any quality, and some of them are strolling about. Okay, Curtis coming back from injury, you can make excuses for him, but you know Costas hasn't played for a while, so maybe you make excuses for him. We can make excuses, but it's just so weird that the entire team played the way they did. It's not something you see very often, and I would love to know why that was. And you know, I'm sure that'll be the inquest tomorrow. Klopp and the staff are going to be like, "What the fuck happened there? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Why did the whole team perform like that?" Because it's
Unless there's
shocking.
something bigger in play that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my point from a few minutes ago. But I mean, whether that's it, but it certainly would make sense if there was something bigger going on, because that's just not us. What we saw tonight. It's not Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool.
No, it's definitely not. Like that performance there. That was kind of like a League Cup performance under Benitez. You know, when like we'd make some changes and it would be totally disjointed and we'd get beaten. Everyone's like, it's just a League Cup. Who gives a shit? That's what it felt like watching that tonight. It did not feel like watching Klopp in a cup competition, because we normally make changes and sometimes it takes us a while to figure it out. We don't always start particularly well, but we usually play our way into the game, and we most of the time we get results. It never looked at any point tonight like that we were going to turn that round to get a result.
Yeah, and Dave, Paul just he tweeted there. He said he went as far as saying that this is the worst performance in the 8 years under Klopp.
I can't think of anything immediately that would be worse, so I don't think that's
so bad.
But Paul's memory is as bad as mine, so
yeah, true. But I mean, it's indicative of how bad we were in the first half as well. That he made 3 changes at halftime. I mean, he doesn't usually do this. They wait till an hour, and they just couldn't get those players off quickly enough tonight. They were so bad. So there was obviously something really wrong at halftime to make those 3 changes. But what we've been really good at this season is coming out really strong in the second half. I mean, we're a second half team if you look at the stats, and there was no discernible improvement in the second half. If anything, we got worse.
No, we did, yeah.
We just
but John, you know what you just said there? Klopp doesn't normally do that, and it was only 1-0. He made 3 changes. I know it was bad, but it was only 1-0. It's not a normal thing for him to do, is it?
No. Yeah. I mean, if we're 2 or 3-0 down at halftime, you can understand it more. That doesn't happen to us very often. So it kind of goes back to what Chris is saying. Is there something bigger at play here? Because it's just usually you can explain bad performances because say against Arsenal at Highbury or wherever they play now, Van Dijk we made a couple of bad individual errors against United. At the weekend, our finishing was terrible, but tonight it's just for everybody to fall off a cliff like that. That wasn't the case against United at the weekend. I mean,
no, we played well.
We played well. I mean, you said it before the game. You said it in the pod after the game. You expected before the game that we'd dominate them, create chances, which we did, but we just never finished. Tonight is just one of those things. You mentioned the word inquest, and that's exactly the term I'd use. There kind of needs to be an inquest to find out what happened tonight, but I'm kind of not suspicious, but very worried when I see everybody just falling off the cliff like that. Especially European in a Europa League quarter-final, you've got a great chance of completing the set of trophies. This is the only one he's not won, and just to be so below par tonight is just astounding. You're kind of lost for words on that performance tonight.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
staggering.
Yeah.
Do either of you two have any more desire to go into specifics, chances, what didn't happen, what should have happened, that kind of thing? Or do you want to just sort of say,
No.
No.
What's the point?
all right, exactly, that's the way I feel about it. There is a part of me that thinks if we'd have had sort of jumbled the ball into the back of the net, like the narrow offside goal that Salah put away, the good save he forced from the keeper after just coming on, I feel like if one of those had gone in, we probably rouse ourselves and
Yeah, me too.
We've done it before,
if you-
so
yeah. And I just think that on a night like that when we were so poor, something going our way, something bouncing in, getting a decision, just something like that. But in no way am I ever sort of in the realm of making that some kind of an excuse or
Yeah.
looking aside from the fact that we were really that poor. So I guess, Dave, do you give us any hope in the second leg?
I wouldn't totally rule it out. If the problem is we're going away from home, we've got to go and win like by 3 goals away from home to, at best, to then maybe, well, at worst, to get penalties, but we need to win by 4 to win it. It's possible just purely on the basis that they're not very good, and if we play well, we could do it. But it's unlikely, and even if we did do that, I'd still be so pissed off because the effort and the energy that we would have to expend to get a result like that would probably hinder us a few days later in the league.
Exactly.
You do not want to be going over there and having to do what we've got to do now. This should have been like not necessarily wrapped up after tonight, but we should have been in pole position where we can go over there and just do enough. And instead, we've had a result like this, which is going to be like massive for like the a massive knock on the morale of the team, the fan base, everything. It was not what we needed after Old Trafford. It was the last thing we needed. Was even if we did drew tonight and we'd have played all right, just a bit below par, but we drew, you wouldn't be that bothered. You'd think it's okay. We'll go away next week and we'll do what needs to be done. But for us to play the way we played tonight, coming off the back of Old Trafford, it's like it's so like. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, you've got to be worried. You've absolutely got to be worried about what does this mean now for the rest of the season. We've got no momentum anymore. It's like we whatever had gone before. Like we were in a situation where it was an 8-game season and we had a 2-point start over Arsenal and a 1-point start over Man City. So forget everything that had gone before. Getting screwed at Tottenham, like the decisions against Man City or whoever.
We had a 3-point start against Man City.
Sorry, yeah, 3 points. 2 points over Arsenal, 3 over City. With in an 8-game season, with not the most difficult fixtures. Forget this whole it's Old Trafford. Forget that. The shite. It wasn't a difficult. Gary Neville summed it up in commentary when he said people saying this is Liverpool's most difficult game, and he went, it's actually the easiest based on how this game's going. And he was right. We will not get an easier game than that in terms of dominating the ball, creating chances. None of these games we've got left will be easier than that game played out to be, regardless of the result. So, but ultimately, it was an 8-game season where we had a head start over everyone, and we just ran into the first hurdle and just fell over. And now we've got to pick ourselves up and try to finish the race. But it doesn't feel like we've got it in us. And tonight is just so it's so worrying, to see that this group of players could play like that. I didn't think they had that in them to do that. I honestly did not think they could possibly play as badly as they played tonight.
Yeah,
John, do you think maybe this could be this could be something that does allow us to pick ourselves up off the canvas and have a sort of coming to Jesus moment over the next few days and really sort of realise what the stakes are in terms of the league now? Because, I mean, come on, we've seen plenty of miracles before in European competitions. This lot aren't Barcelona, that's for sure. This lot aren't peak Maldini AC Milan either. So, it's not by no means out of the realms of possibility. Whether it's something that we should be ultimately prioritising at this point with the stakes high elsewhere remains to be seen. But do you think that this could be something that galvanises us a little bit and over the next few days they are able to meet and sort of hash it out between them and figure out where they're going for the rest of the season, because time's running out and we've got 6 weeks left of this, and if we're not careful, the last month is going to be fucking miserable. So make your fucking choices, lads.
I mean, I would have said, Chris, that that galvanizing moment should have been on Monday morning after that fucking shambles on Sunday.
True.
And that we should have gone on, put this to bed tonight, and much like we did in the group stages of the Europa League, almost rest players next week, because make no mistake, Atalanta, they've done what they had to do tonight, but we should be absolutely out of sight based on the quality of players that we have. What it boils down to now is, well, obviously there's the game on Sunday before next week, but do you kind of stick or twist? Do you say we're going to go all out next week against Atalanta and try to win, which means obviously playing your best team? Dave mentioned the effort we'll have to expend to get through, but the problem here is that we have 72 hours later, and it's obviously an away game as well with a late kickoff, so we're getting back late Thursday night, early Friday morning. We're away to Fulham on the Sunday, and then we have the derby on the following Wednesday, and then we have 3 league games in a row away. We're away to West Ham the following Saturday, so you almost have to make a choice now. Do you put everything in the Europa League, or do you put everything in the league, knowing that the league is out of our hands because of the shambles against United last week? So I mean, we've said it already tonight in the pod. We're just kind of speechless. I mean, the wind has been totally taken out of our sails. It started with the cup defeat. I know we've beaten Sheffield United since, we beat Brighton since, but that just kind of that 4-3 defeat in the cup, it seemed like a turning point.
I agree.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I agree with that.
Yeah, in hindsight, ever since it just hasn't been the same. And Sunday was just. It almost seemed like kind of the final nail in the coffin to not beat that team. To take 2 points out of 6 against that United team this season is absolutely criminal. And yeah, I'd say my mood, which has been really positive all season, is just absolutely despondent tonight. That could change at the weekend if we win, but I mean, City, I think they're at home to Luton, so they're going to go on and win. Arsenal are probably going to win at the weekend, and it just seems, as you say, Chris, this kind of long goodbye, it's almost prolonging the agony. It's just, I prefer if somebody put me out of my inevitable misery now rather than in mid-May, to be honest.
Just one point on that,
exactly
though,
how I
John.
feel.
You said it's not in our hands, and it's not, because it's in Arsenal's hands. Because although we're level on points, they're basically a point ahead because we're not clawing back 9 goals. But all I would say to that is, I see them dropping points in probably 2 of the games they've got left. Not necessarily 2 defeats. I do think that they are not winning all of their games. I think there's a decent chance that City do. The only game I'm looking at with City is Tottenham away. Maybe Spurs do something. But we're ahead of City, so it kind of, if Arsenal drop points, it still is in our hands. The problem is, do you see us winning 7 on the bounce? The way with all the momentum that we've lost now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's fine for City to drop points, for Arsenal to drop points, but if we play like we did tonight, and something seems to have gone drastically wrong tonight, we're not going to win all our games if we play like that.
That performance tonight would not beat any Premier League team.
Yeah, definitely. Even at the weekend, if we play like that on Sunday against Palace, we won't win.
No chance.
Of course.
You've got to be much better.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary, and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook. I just think you have to look at it from the perspective of momentum is everything at this season. Arsenal look like they're getting stronger. That performance at Brighton, I think, at the weekend was an eye-opener for all of us in terms of, regardless of how they got their first goal, they won there, they won comfortably, and it was a game that everybody was looking at and thinking, like, hey, this could be one of them, City are doing what City do this time of year. They're just winning games comfortably, and I do expect them to absolutely win out. So,
Same.
But I think Arsenal and City are both A, better than us, and B, have more momentum than us. So I'm not really even thinking about the title anymore, to be honest. I don't think it's a possibility. And like you, John, I just think that it's this idea of this like 6-month period where it almost feels like, somebody is fucking terminal. Like a lot of us have been through that in our lives, so we wouldn't necessarily directly equate it, but it's got that sort of feel about it almost and it's not a good feeling. I'm absolutely with you. I'm not really in the market for this like just ticking off games one at a time. There's 5 left, there's 4 left, there's 3 left. I'd just rather it be he'd kept his fucking mouth shut and say that he's leaving, just leave at the end of the season or leave when he felt the need to go, rather than just subjecting us to and I think I'm kind of in a little bit of a place at the moment where you go through stages with this kind of stuff, and I think the Alonso news played a part in this as well, in terms of being able to get your head around it if we were getting him in. But I'm a bit pissed off with Jurgen at the moment for leaving us. Like, I'm a bit pissed off with him for ditching us. And I know that that's unreasonable because the man has his own life, and if his health and his ability to be happy in his life is struggling, then he has to do what he has to do. But it doesn't mean to say that, we can't be a bit fucking thanks for that, mate. Like, you signed a contract until 2026, and now you're ditching us 2 years early. Like, I think we're allowed to be a bit pissed off with him as well as being sad that he's leaving. And like, what do you reckon, Dave?
I'm not pissed off with him. I feel like he's entitled to do whatever he wants. He's more than earned the right to do it.
Well, he is, Dave, if he doesn't sign a 2-year extension to his contract,
to be fair,
which brings him from 24 to 26.
I know, but like I did get told a while ago, like, that nobody at the club expected him to see that out. They didn't necessarily think he was going as soon as this, but they didn't think he was going to see out that full contract.
But he's Mr. seeing out contracts. He's like,
I know.
Mr. Honour your contract.
Well, no, he's Mr. I will honour your contract unless you want to leave. Okay. So as long he doesn't force somebody out if they've got a contract, but if that player was to say, I want to go, he never stands in the way. He's like, we've got an agreement.
Important distinction.
Yeah, but equally, Dave, he's Mr. I want you to sign for Liverpool and I have a contract till 2026, but I've changed my mind.
But that's why he announced when he did, John. Because that's why. Because, like Chris said,
he signed players last summer who thought he would be here.
Yeah, that's fair. But in terms of like Chris saying, why can't he just wait till the end of the season and say, right, I'm going? That would have been the ideal scenario. But the reason why that doesn't happen is because there's a couple of reasons though. Yeah, well, there's Trent and
Van Dijk.
Even like more important than that is also like when you're trying to sign new players, and word gets around with agents. If there was any hint that Klopp was not going to be there next season, which they would either have to just lie to any players that they were going for. Klopp would have to lie to them and say, like, I'm signing you, I want to be here. And he's not a liar. He's not someone who would do that. Or you say, the club's signing yet, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to be here. In which case, every agent has got on to fucking Fabrizio Romano and Ornstein, giving them the little fucking stories. And then that undermines everything because you've got like the speculation. So he had to do it when he did. Not to mention the fact that Liverpool have got to find a new manager. So as soon as they start making phone calls about that, then word's going to get out anyway. They couldn't have kept that quiet unless Klopp had just been lying to everybody, even though he knew he was going. If he didn't let anybody know he was going to go, and that's just not his style. He's just not going to do that.
Look. I understand that. I completely understand the business rationale for it. I completely understand the logistical element behind it. I'm just talking from the emotional experience as a Liverpool fan because it's shit at the moment. I fucking hate it. I don't fucking like it at all. It makes me fucking miserable to think of this next 6 weeks ebbing away and it ending with a damp squid with stuff like we saw tonight, or it's just all of the last, like our last FA Cup game, losing at fucking Old Trafford, like our last European game at Anfield probably is losing 3-0 to a subpar Atalanta team. Like, we have a visit to Goodison to come. I don't feel fucking good about that. I don't know if you guys feel good about going to Goodison and winning there. Because I sure as shit don't. And we have the alternative of, in his last season, he gets fucking Guardiola gets the best of him, or Arteta gets the best of him. Like that's the way it's going to go. And it's just going to be, I hate to be this big fucking barrel of misery, but that's the way it's going to go. That's the way it's going to end. And it's going to be inevitable. Fucking shit.
Yeah, there's a decent chance that that's what's going to happen, but I'm not going to resign myself to that at this point. There's 7 league games left. If we win 7 league games, we win the title, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't think Arsenal are going to win out. So that's the challenge. The players have got to fucking get the shit together, though. What's been happening recently is not acceptable. Either like just the fucking shitty decision making and sloppy finishing, or the all-around fucking train wreck that we saw tonight. Whichever way you want to look at it, none of this is acceptable. And they need to be having a fucking players-only meeting and sorting it out amongst themselves. Because I don't put, like, what happened tonight, I don't put that down to Klopp and his team selection or tactics or any of that. Because it plays a part, but you can't justify that performance by saying it's because he rested a few players or because of this or that. No, this is purely down to the players. The team selection isn't responsible for players just not being able to play a 10-yard pass to a teammate. This is on them. They've got to get this sorted amongst themselves. And we have got players coming back. Jota come back and immediately looked a threat as soon as he come on tonight. Yeah, he had a couple of headers which he's like missed the target with, but he looked a goal threat as soon as he come on. So having him back could give us that boost we need in terms of being clinical for once. Trent's got to come back in at some point. So you've just got to hope that they sort it out amongst themselves, because if they let this season just peter out and let Klopp go out on this this fucking, as you said, the damp squib, if the players allow that to happen, they're not the players that I thought they were. And I was thinking, whoever comes in, they've got this great squad, who wouldn't want to manage these? And now I'm looking at them and going, did I jump the gun a bit there? Are you really as good as what I've been thinking you are? Because you're not fucking showing it, So, and then we also said if Klopp was to get that league title, then whoever comes in next and whatever happens, and I'd be at peace with it. But the opposite side of that is, if this season peters out, Klopp leaves, I feel like whoever's coming in, he's coming into a not a good situation. If we end the season on a big downer, it's going to be really tough for someone to come in. Well, it looks like it's probably going to be Amarim. I can't see anybody who I can say is a better candidate than him. I'm not saying I'm all in on him or anything like that, but looks like it's probably going to be him. But that's not going to be easy, coming in and picking everyone up off the floor if it ends the way you think it's going to end, Chris. So I don't even want to contemplate that at the moment, even though I'm not going to sit here and call anyone a shithouse who's thinking along those lines, because it's a perfectly reasonable thing to expect that might happen. You know, we've been down this road before. It never ends well when like close title races and playing Wolves on the last day of the season. You know, it just feels like is this going to be the third time? We might not even get to that point. It may be over well before then. But if it's still in the balance and we're playing Wolves on the last day of the season, they're fucking dickhead fans with the banter merchants. That would just be that'd be brutal. But would it be worse if it was over even before that? I think it might be. I think it might be worse if we didn't even have that last day with possibilities. So we've just got to keep get our shit together.
Yeah,
we need pick up points and just keep it going.
I mean, you're saying all that, Dave. It's the 11th of April. So a month back, before the United game away in the cup, there was talk of quadruples and now we're looking. Obviously, that's not possible anymore because we got knocked out on St. Patrick's Day, so the 17th of March against United. So we're down to 3. We're not looking likely to win the Europa League, which, by the way, we have been overwhelming favourites for all season, as we should, because we're a Champions League team in all but name, and have managed to fucking get destroyed tonight. And even the league now, because of that shambles on Sunday, is out of our hands. So we could be going from 4 trophies to possible trophies to 1 in the space of a month. And it kind of Chris has mentioned this several times on the pod, in chats or whatever. It bears all the hallmarks of that almost season when we lost against Wolves. We lost the title against Wolves on the last day of the season. But to City, we lost the European Cup final, which we probably would have won if we had won the league. And it's just how much can anybody take? That's my whole thing going into the next 6 weeks. We've been there so many times under Klopp. Obviously, we're competing with City and the 115 charges and everything, but if you put that to one side, it's just so difficult to be positive. And I'm pretty positive at the moment about the team and the club and everything, but the last few weeks have just kind of awakened this negativity of the last few seasons and the near misses, which are just so hard to take. So
and what's to come as well, John. Like what we're facing down, and like we go through these misses from time to time, but with Klopp at the helm and the stability and the structure behind him, you're always confident that you can go again, right? You can sort of
exactly.
All that awaits now is just uncertainty, complete unknown that awaits after these next 6 weeks. So there's almost an urgency there that there hasn't quite been before. Well, I mean, the urgency was winning that title, right? Like that, ending that 30-year drought, like. So that was probably the most urgent thing that needed to happen. But like in terms of the finite nature of this season, we don't know what we're walking into next season. We don't know what awaits.
Exactly.
It's just a complete we're in the dark completely. And even if we did have all the information, we'd be no better off in terms of knowing how that shit's going to pan out. So I think that the anxiety amongst us at the moment looms extra large because it's on its. It's coming to an end. The whole thing's coming to an end.
Yeah, it is.
And there's a part of me that kind of just wishes that just fucking end it now. Wake me up in June.
Yeah, August. And I mean, as hard as the defeat in Kiev was against Madrid, you knew we were coming back. As hard as Paris was, and that was the worst I've ever felt after a game. I still can't bear to think about that. And I had been at the Wolves games the week before as well. You knew that he was coming back. Whereas now, as you say, it's just it's this despair because of what we think is going to happen based on previous experiences, and there's no safety net of next August to look forward to, and that reassurance that he'll be there in his press conferences in pre-season looking forward. We don't know who the new manager is going to be. It's not going to be Alonso. That much we know, and that was obviously the the thing that lots of us were clinging to, rightly or wrongly, that remains to be seen. But it's just, I mean, it's incredible to think that we're on 71 points at this stage of the season, which is 4 more than we got last season, and that there's no tangible positivity around the club, around the fans. If you go online, I know that is not necessarily reflective of the whole fan base, but if you're in the ground, if you just talk with your mates and that, I think the desire at the moment is just to get this over with, and yeah, it's unbelievable to be in this frame of mind at this stage of the season, but it just seems to be, the wheels just seem to have come off in the last few weeks.
Dave, I guess the one thing that we can sort of rally around is the fact that we have the same amount of points as the team that are currently top of the Premier League.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to.
Left.
It's 7 games left. Just win the 7 games. Win the 7 games, and everything's fine.
Right.
We win the 7 games. You don't have to worry about Man City at all. You just got to hope at some point Arsenal will drop points, which I'm convinced they will. So that it's about us. It's like win those 7 games. Now that's easier said than done, obviously, but I just feel like these players, they cannot let Klopp go out with a whimper. If they let Klopp go out with a whimper by like just shitting the bed over the next few weeks, that's going to take a lot of like forgiving for me. I'll just look at them. I won't look at them the same way. So,
but Dave, they've shit the bed at least 3 times since mid-March, against United in the cup, against United at the weekend, and tonight.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm putting it on the players. Yeah. Enough's enough. You need to fucking get your act together. You've got a chance here to make history. You've just got to win 7 league games against teams. You're better than every single one of those teams that you're playing against. Go out and win those fucking 7 league games, because you fucked up the Europa League now. So that's pretty much gone, barring something drastically unexpected next week. And in terms of that game, by the way, you said earlier, John, about making changes. That game is the one we need to make changes. You rest some players for that game, and if you find yourself a couple of goals up and you've got a chance to go for it, then you bring the big hitters on and go for it. But you don't start that game with the big hitters if it comes at the expense of leaving them out in the league. No, the priority is those 7 league games. Go out and win every one of those 7 league games. That's all they should be thinking about now. This squad of players, and that's why I said they should be having a players only meeting. It shouldn't be up to Klopp to lift them and rally them, and they should be doing it themselves.
I agree on that, and I'd say that Klopp owes this group of players nothing.
Exactly.
But
they owe him a load.
They owe him everything.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you can take any of the players, from Alisson to Virgil to Endo to Mo. He has made every single present and past players, Bobby, Henderson, Milner, whoever, he has made every one of them better, and he has bettered every one of their careers. So it's up to them now to pay back.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying they need to get together themselves and figure out what the fuck went wrong tonight. We know what went wrong in the United games, just sloppiness in front of goal, decision making, final third, all of that stuff. That's something they know what the problem is there, and you know how to address it. Just fucking be better in those situations. But whatever went on tonight, they need to figure that out quick, and they need to start picking up points again in the league. Palace at home. The fact that we're looking at Palace on Sunday going, ooh, that might be tricky. That's a fucking disgrace that we're looking at it like that. We should not be thinking about that. We should be confident going into that game. You look at our records at Anfield. Look where we are in the table. The fact that we're justifiably looking at it and going, oh, don't know about that now. That's absolutely scandalous. And that's down to these recent performances. The players need to just fucking get their act together, because they've got 7 games left here against teams who they should be beating. go out, win those 7 games, and let's see what happens. We will probably be champions if that happens, and Klopp gets the send-off he deserves. But if they fuck up in one of those league games, like, you know, by just throwing in a stinker, it's going to take some getting over for me, just in terms of how I look at the squad.
Yeah. All right, boys. How are we feeling about leaving it there? You want to take a quick look at the game of the weekends, or have we said enough?
We'll take a little quick look and predictions. I mean, team selection, what changes from tonight? Who comes back in?
Fucking Alisson, hopefully.
You know, he wasn't on the bench tonight. He's not coming back on Sunday. No.
All right. Kwanzaa for Konate?
Probably. There'll be a change at
Bradley
back
back
as
in.
well. Yeah, Bradley back in, and I think Trent will get maybe 20 minutes off the bench. Left back will be Robbo.
Yeah.
Midfield. Wouldn't be surprised if Endo didn't play on Sunday, because I don't think something's not quite right there. That performance tonight was inexplicably shit from him.
Maybe Maka in the 6 and Dom and Harvey or Curtis, who needs games because he's really rusty before. So
I think we have to persist with Curtis, try to get him back up to speed.
Me too.
Dom's fucking winding me up at the moment.
Yeah,
he started the season like a fucking runaway express train, and I look at him now and I'm like, you fucking Thomas the Tank Engine. Just be better. Simple as that. And you know what's really annoying about him is when you see clips like of goals he scored for Hungary and stuff he's done for Leipzig. I'm like, well, where the fuck's that? Why are we not seeing that? It started the season. The sky was the limit. He looked great. And then probably for, 4 or 5 months now? When did he last actually look good?
Second half against Brighton, I suppose, wasn't it? He played well in that game, I guess, but nothing compared to what we were expecting and what we thought we were getting with him, that's for sure. I mean, to be frank, like, it's still really early days for him, and there's been injuries, there's been international commitments constantly, so obviously you look at him as still one of your top prospects, but stock has fallen, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt he's a really good player and potential to be a fucking great player, but show it. You know, we need that now. You know, it's so many of them. I'm like, no, you've got to step up now. You've got to, like, you know, even Darwin, like, he looked like he was in the ascendancy, and then the last few weeks he's just sort of tailed off a bit as well. It's like he's still contributing, but he's not exploded. It's like, no, this is the time of the season when we need players like Darwin, Diaz, Gakpo, Szoboszlai. We just need like the players who are your match winners, who can step up and make a difference. We need them to actually deliver, and they're not really doing it at the moment. Mo as well. You know, we need all these players to step up, and the fact that we're like so desperate to get Jota back tells you like that the others are not delivering what we need them to. It's not that they've been bad, but we need them to be on the best form now. We need everyone to hit peak form for this 7-game stretch now.
We thinking Jota starts. Will he be able to start, do you think?
I think it might be a bit too soon.
Might give us an hour, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll.
Would you rather bring him off the bench?
I think he'll come off the bench. And I like that safety net. If it's not going well, you're like, well, we can bring him on at half time if we need to.
And so you start Diaz, Darwin, Mo?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
And I think you mentioned before about Mo and his energy levels with Ramadan. That's over now, so hopefully, and Konate as well, although you wouldn't, you know, based on tonight's performance, they were pretty bad. But on Sunday, I think there was definitely a factor with Mo at the end in terms of his energy. So they should be back to full fitness and their capacities for the weekend. So and I think Jota. I mean, we've been plagued by injuries this season. Alisson has been missed, obviously. Konate's been out at different periods. Andy as well, Trent. But I think the player we've missed the most in the last few weeks has definitely been Jota. I've no doubt that if he had played against United in those 2 games, we'd be in an FA Cup semi-final now and top of the league. So great to see him get. I mean, they're very few positives from tonight, but having Jota back, getting a few minutes, having Trent on the bench, and having Curtis getting a few more minutes, that should stand us in good stead till the end of the season.
But here's the thing, for us to be where we are, it's testament to the depth of the squad, the players who've come in and performed heroically when we've needed them to. They've kept us in this and got us in this position. But things have started to get better in terms of getting players back. Over the last few weeks, you can see, okay, the cavalry's coming. And it's like, well, the lads who've got us into this position, they deserve better than for these players to just come back and then the season just petered out. If they're going to come back in now, they need to get us over the line. We need these players to come back and take advantage of the position that we've been put in by all of these players. Kelleher, Gomez, the kids who've come in and played when we've needed them to, all the squad lads who've come in and done exactly what we needed to just keep the rig on the road. We can't now just let it all fall off as we're getting players back. So they've just got to sort it out. They've got to.
They do, because from January probably to end of February, beginning of March, and the end of February was a classic example of what you're saying, Dave, with the League Cup final against Chelsea. If you look at the team that ended the game, they won us the cup, and the least they can expect from now to the end of the season is for the regulars to build on what they set up for them. They kept us afloat, and nobody expected the likes of Jans, McConnell, Clark, Kwanzaa to do so well. They've got us here, and it's up to the senior pros. Paul has been saying a lot on the pod about the senior pros like Alisson, Trent. You need them back in these big games, and it's up to them now to get us over the line if they can.
Because we could be going around the city on a bus with one trophy on that bus, and that trophy was won by the kids and the squad players.
Yeah.
And all your senior players are going to be on that bus. They should be feeling embarrassed. If we've got one trophy on that bus, they should feel embarrassed because that would be on them not getting us over the line.
They shouldn't do no fucking bus.
They're going to do it anyway. I agree, but they'll do it. I know.
Anyway,
it's not that. It's for Klopp, isn't it? It's to give Klopp the send off, but yeah, it's going to feel massively flat and just hollow if that's all we've got on that bus.
First things first, it's Crystal Palace on Sunday. They've won one game since that new manager took over in mid-February, 7 games, and they've only won one, and that was against Burnley. So it's not a lot can change in a few days in footy. A lot can change in 90 minutes in footy. So although we're super, super downbeat tonight, and if anybody stayed and listened through all of this, through all of our basically group therapy session and cry arse and shithouse and whatever else would be called for it, then congratulations, well done. We appreciate you more than you know. But we can just go out and have just a big win on Sunday, not expecting anything from the other games necessarily, because Villa are shit away from home. Man City are just going to win, because that's what they do. If we can go out and we can say that 3 or 4 past Palace on Sunday, just a good positive performance that gets the vibe back again, get the crowd into it, a bit of emotion from the manager, the players, reinforce that union that seems to have been threatened a little bit by this week by what's happened between the club and the fans. Like that going on in the background has not helped necessarily. But if we can get that big win on Sunday, things will instantly look a little bit brighter, and we'll maybe be able to sort of,
fork in the road.
Side.
We're at a fork in the road right now, and it's either going to go one way or the other.
Yeah. If we win Sunday, we go top for a few hours. So that's the motivation.
Yeah, and then I was pissed off last week when we played after everybody else, but because that's always a bummer to me when the other two teams have won and then you have to play and then you don't do the business. It just feels fucking way worse because they have done the business, and there's nothing better than having the points in the bag and then watching those teams try and follow you, and if they don't, it feels great. So it was another way that we surrendered the momentum at the weekend, but. Yeah. Not to go too far down that rabbit hole again. Palace at home on Sunday. They're shit. Great opportunity for us to just put this out of our mind for a few days, and as Dave always likes to say, put the rig back on the road. Anything else?
Nope.
Good. Right. John, I know you need a piss. I know you're probably in enough pain already to continue this for any longer. Dave, I hear you've got some like puking babies to be addressing, so that's your evening. Thank you for listening. If you have, Dave and the boys will be back on Sunday after the game. Hopefully a big win that has us all feeling a little bit better. But until then, we'll catch you soon.